In the early 1980s, the FBI faced one of its biggest challenges yet, bringing down a global mafia drug cartel. Welcome to the untold story of the Pizza Connection, a massive heroin smuggling ring that spanned continents, run by Gaetano Badalamenti, a Sicilian mafia godfather. Arrested in Madrid, Badalamenti's downfall set off a chain of events that led to the longest criminal jury trial in U.S. history. More than 3 decades ago, in April of 1984, the FBI was about to score a significant victory against organized crime, bringing down a high-profile mafia figure. The target of their operation was none other than Gaetano Badalamenti, a notorious name in the world of criminal enterprise. Known as the former head of the Sicilian Mafia, Badalamenti was once the undisputed top boss within the Cosa Nostra's ranks. However, his reign in Sicily came to an abrupt end in 1978, when internal conflicts and power struggles forced him into exile, driven away by his adversaries within the organization. Despite being cast out of Sicily, Badalamenti did not abandon his criminal endeavors. From behind the scenes, he continued to pull the strings of one of the world's most extensive and clandestine heroin trafficking networks. Operating in the shadows, he orchestrated a sophisticated drug cartel that managed to thrive without drawing too much attention, even while he remained on the move. His journey took him across various countries, but by the spring of 1984, he had settled, at least temporarily, in Madrid. He was not alone. His wife and eldest son accompanied him, providing the cover of a family life to mask his ongoing illicit activities. The FBI had been methodically following his trail for some time, unraveling a complex web of international drug distribution that connected Sicily to the streets of the United States. Badalamenti's network stretched far and wide, with a significant presence in the American Midwest. One of his key associates was Pietro Alfano, a trusted nephew and close confidant who handled operations in that region. As the investigation intensified, Alfano boarded a flight from Chicago to Madrid, aiming to rendezvous with his uncle, unaware that law enforcement was closing in. This meeting would soon prove to be a pivotal moment in what came to be known as the Pizza Connection case, a landmark operation that exposed the global reach of the mafia's drug empire. Unbeknownst to Gaetano Badalamenti, his every move was being monitored by Spanish authorities who had been tipped off by the FBI. The surveillance was part of an elaborate operation to dismantle his international drug trafficking network. On the evening of April 8, 1984, as Badalamenti and his trusted associate Pietro Alfano stepped out onto the bustling streets of Madrid, law enforcement officers were ready to strike. The two men were swiftly apprehended in a carefully planned arrest. Shortly afterward, Badalamenti's son was also taken into custody, effectively bringing the family operation to a halt. The arrests in Madrid were just the beginning of a larger crackdown on Badalamenti's criminal enterprise. The following day, the FBI initiated a meticulously coordinated operation targeting the American branches of the drug network. Nearly 30 individuals, all of whom were connected to Badalamenti and his cartel, were rounded up in a sweeping series of raids across the United States. Led by the FBI's New York office, agents from 6 different bureau locations executed arrest warrants and conducted searches, uncovering a wealth of evidence. The raids yielded not only drug paraphernalia but also significant quantities of cash, firearms, and a large collection of documents, which would later play a crucial role in unraveling the mafia's intricate web of narcotics trafficking. Among those captured was Salvatore Toto Catalano, a prominent member of the Bonanno crime family and the owner of a bakery in Queens. Catalano was far more than a baker. He was a key figure within the Sicilian mafia's American network. As Badalamenti's primary liaison to the U.S. Mafia, he headed a group of Sicilian immigrants known as the Zips, who had been instrumental in the operation's American side. Catalano's arrest marked a significant blow to Badalamenti's drug ring, as it severed the link between the Sicilian Mafia and the U.S.-based distribution network. The prosecution of those involved in the drug ring would become one of the most famous criminal trials in U.S. history. On October 24, 1985, the trial began, featuring 22 defendants, all of whom were Sicilian-born. For the next 16 months, the government presented its case against these men in a trial that would go down in history as the longest criminal jury trial ever held in the United States. As the trial progressed, 2 defendants chose to plead guilty to lesser offenses, while 1 defendant met a violent end, possibly as a result of tensions within the organization. The violence extended even further, with an attempt on Alfano's life, which left him critically wounded. By the time the jury was ready to deliver its verdict on March 2, 1987, 19 defendants remained. The prosecution team, which included future FBI Director Louis Freeh, presented a compelling case that these men were part of a massive, multi-continental drug trafficking conspiracy that had been in operation for nearly a decade. The scheme was as ambitious as it was profitable. Morphine base was purchased from suppliers in Turkey and then shipped to Sicily, where it was processed into high-grade heroin. The heroin was subsequently smuggled into the United States, often using pizza parlors and other mafia-controlled businesses as distribution hubs, stretching across New York, Illinois, and Wisconsin. To supplement their profits, the organization also trafficked cocaine from South America. The sheer scale of the operation was staggering. Between January 1975 and April 1984, an estimated $1.6 billion worth of heroin made its way into the United States through this complex network. The profits were then funneled through a sophisticated money laundering system involving a web of banks and brokerage firms, both in the U.S. and abroad, designed to obscure the true origins of the illegal gains and allow the mafia to reinvest the proceeds into their criminal ventures. The investigation that became known as the Pizza Connection was one of the most challenging and far-reaching criminal cases of its time, named by the media because of the mafia's frequent use of pizza parlors across the United States as cover for heroin distribution. It was an intricate and daunting task that required years of painstaking work to unravel the complex web of narcotics trafficking, money laundering, and organized crime activities. The origins of the case can be traced back to the mid-1970s, when Joe Pistone, an undercover FBI agent who infiltrated the Bonanno crime family under the alias Donnie Brasco, began collecting vital intelligence. His work laid the groundwork for what would eventually become an enormous international investigation involving multiple law enforcement agencies. As the investigation unfolded, it transformed into a multi-agency and multinational effort that involved a coordinated approach from the FBI, the New York Police Department, the Drug Enforcement Administration, U.S. Customs, and other American authorities. However, the scope of the operation extended well beyond the borders of the United States. International cooperation was critical, with contributions from law enforcement agencies in numerous countries, including Italy, Sicily, Spain, Switzerland, Turkey, Brazil, Canada, Great Britain, Germany, and Mexico. The FBI's network of international legal attaché offices played a significant role in facilitating cross-border intelligence sharing and enforcement actions, marking one of the earliest large-scale instances of global policing efforts against organized crime. The investigation lasted over 4 years and required an extraordinary amount of resources. Authorities amassed a colossal volume of evidence, from financial records to audio recordings, by utilizing a wide array of investigative techniques. Surveillance was conducted on various suspects across several continents, sometimes on a 24/7 basis. Agents meticulously tracked thousands of telephone calls, often made from remote pay phones to avoid detection. The conspirators predominantly communicated in the Sicilian dialect, frequently employing coded language to disguise their illegal activities, making the process of deciphering their conversations particularly arduous. To overcome these challenges, the FBI assembled a team of skilled translators and language experts who worked diligently to turn the encrypted dialogues into intelligible information that could be used in court. Ultimately, the enormous effort paid off. The prosecution achieved a significant victory, with all but one of the 19 remaining defendants being found guilty. Among those convicted were high-profile figures like Gaetano Badalamenti, the former Sicilian mafia boss, and Salvatore Catalano, who played a pivotal role in managing the U.S.-based side of the drug operation. Both men received long prison sentences, dealing a severe blow to the mafia's drug distribution network. Beyond securing convictions, the Pizza Connection case left a lasting legacy on law enforcement practices and international cooperation. It helped solidify the FBI's relationships with foreign agencies and laid the foundation for the expansion of the Bureau's legal attaché offices worldwide, which are now essential in addressing modern global threats such as terrorism, cybercrime, and transnational organized crime. This was also the first major narcotics case following the FBI's concurrent jurisdiction with the DEA over drug-related violations in 1982. The investigation set new standards for tackling complex criminal enterprises, particularly by utilizing the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, which enabled authorities to prosecute entire criminal organizations rather than targeting individual offenders alone. Years later, Louis Freeh, who would become the director of the FBI, emphasized the groundbreaking nature of the case, describing it as the FBI's first major, transnational criminal enterprise investigation and prosecution. He characterized it as a historic turning point for international police cooperation and coordinated enforcement action, highlighting how it not only disrupted a massive drug trafficking network but also set a precedent for future international criminal investigations. Even more than 35 years after the conclusion of the Pizza Connection case, its impact is still felt. The strategies developed during this monumental investigation continue to inform modern law enforcement tactics and shape the collaborative efforts needed to confront sophisticated global criminal networks. The case remains a watershed moment in the history of policing, proving that even the most formidable criminal organizations can be dismantled with persistence, international collaboration, and innovative investigative techniques.